Stop the cap.
Kylie, and I'm obviously white. I grew up in a conservative white family, and I know there's been a lot of discourse about whether white people should talk about racism, and here's my argument for why I think that not only should we, but we have to. A lot of racism in white families occurs behind closed doors. I've been over at friends' parents' places and heard them say some pretty obscene things about people of color, assuming that I am on their side simply because I am white. Obviously, this makes for some awkward conversations when I do call them out, but point being, the depths of the racism and the darkness that seeps in deeply into these families can only, in my opinion, truly be exposed by other white people, because they will never be their full racist selves around anyone who is not white. They like to save face publicly and say that they're not racist, but then again, if you go into their homes and you hear the things they say, that would suggest otherwise. I just encourage you, if you're a white person and you know people like this, please say something. Don't just ignore it for fear of conflict.
All right, so this video is going to be, we're still covering the Carmelo Anthony and the Austin Metcalf stabbing situation going on there down in Frisco, Texas. And, I've been, scouring the internet, looking at some of these videos, looking at people's opinions. And, it's the typical bias that we expect to see. And white people basically doing the same thing that white people do every time, and it's like you can just, the hypocrisy, how they don't even see their own hypocrisy is just crazy, right? They're like, why did he have a knife? It's Texas. People carry knives, and then you have the whole aspect of the Kyle Rittenhouse when he was carrying his AR-15. Man, when I did my video, I had all type of white people that were justifying him having that AR-15. But when it comes to, Anthony having or Carmelo Anthony having that knife, oh, it's the end of the world, right? And these are, like I said, the people that are, any other conversation, they're always talking about, some Second Amendment aspect and how it's my God-given right and I can carry, however I want. People have a right to protect themselves, right? And as soon as they're the victim, as soon as they're on the ground, then all of a sudden now it's not about, stand your ground. It's not about anybody can, protect themselves. It's not about fuck around and find out. Right. Suddenly all that goes out the door. Right. It's rules for thee, but not for me. Right. Then I was watching this video of, what else was I watching? I was watching a video of a white lawyer, but before I get to the white lawyer, it's like we can look at the Daniel Penny situation. Right. I mean, they threw a party for Daniel Penny for, strangling the I don't even know what was going on with that guy, mentally handicapped in some way. He's autistic or whatever the heck was going on with him, and I'm saying, I got into it with a lot of black people about that case because there's a lot of people, there aren't subways all across the country. I think most cities do have subways, but there's a lot of people who live in areas, they don't understand the subway. Like, they don't understand, like, when you have a major, subway, like how, like, there's areas in there, like, where, like, I mean, you're isolated, you're especially ones that are, like, really, like, convoluted and they got the stairs that go up and the stairs that go down and you can, like, when the trains aren't coming, like, there's just areas where, it gets a little creepy. And you'll have homeless people, they try to get out of the rain, there is cold outside, you know what I mean? And they'll hang in and around, the train stations. And, we've seen this in New York where people get pushed on the train tracks. These are people that'll be talking to themselves. They'll be having a full on argument, cursing, everything else. You're like, what the fuck is going on with this guy? Like, and they're freaking people out. And when it came to the Daniel Penny situation on the train, there were black witnesses there. They said, the guy that, the Mr. imitation Michael Jackson, he came on, he was talking about demanding food and just being irate, which I believe. And Daniel went and put him in a chokehold and held the chokehold, pulled a Derek Chauvin, held it for too long, and instead of having the person pass out or knock out or basically be incapacitated for a period of time, you strangle the man to death, right? And white people cheered. And see, the thing is like, I'm not keeping score. Apparently white people are keeping score. Like, they see a white black interaction and they're like, we're rooting for Team White, whether it's, it's this Carmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf, whether it's the Capitol black police officer and Ashley Babbitt, whether it's, Daniel Penny and the guy on the train. Like, these white people are sick. They're sick. Like I said, with the Kyle Rittenhouse, should Kyle Rittenhouse have been there? No. Should Kyle Rittenhouse have had the AR-15 at 17? No. All the stuff with his parents and, however he got access to the firearm and everything, my dad lives in this state. I don't even know what all the details are on that. I done forgot. But I'm saying, by all intents and purposes, Kyle should not have been there. A 17-year-old shouldn't have been out there where, it's whether you want to call a riot, or a protest, or a 17-year-old shouldn't have been out there with a riot or a protest. Shouldn't have been there. However, when, he was confronted by Rosenbaum, which was the first guy that he shot, the bald guy, Kyle was in full retreat. Full retreat. You can't get any more self-defense than you're blocks away from where you started. I don't care what anybody says. I'm like, full retreat. He's trying to get away. He ran before he decided to shoot the guy. I'm like, it's self-defense. I'm not here to argue with black people about that it is what it is. I looked at this shit objectively. Shouldn't have been there. Yeah, did he contribute to putting himself in that situation? Absolutely. But at a certain point, I'm like, the boy is in full retreat and they still chasing him and he's got AR-15. Again, I don't understand the logic of chasing somebody with an AR-15 when you got nothing on you. You just mad. I'm like, that's got to be the dumbest thing in the world. And the man paid for the situation with his life. It's just that simple. Unfortunate, but that's what happened. These white people, I told you, y'all think I'm playing games when I say that these white people are pathological. They're pathological. And y'all keep running around, playing with that idea, right? Playing with how pathological they are. They got a video, what's his name? CG Hito. He's got a video, and I was actually going to comment on the video because I was kind of like, it was the brother. I seen his Instagram page. He's Nigerian. He's where he's sitting around with a bunch of white guys. They had like a tailgate or something, and he's sitting there, and one of the white guys, and you could really tell he got it from his father. But one of the white guys asked the black guy to move from in front of the television, and he curses at him. It's my fucking tailgate, right? And which, right off top, like. And this goes into like the tether conversation, because I don't know how long dude has been here, as a he looked like he grew up here. He sounded like he grew up here. But I saw the Nigerian flag on his page. But I'm like, this whole trying to be cordial with white people, that's not going to change how they view you. Putting on your Brian Gumble. You know what I mean? And sitting there and talking to, I'm an upstanding citizen. You cannot behave your way out of racism and white supremacy. There's a lot of black people who still sit around and think they can do that. And the only time white people even make it appear that's like possible is when they're sitting down and talking to a Candace Owens or a Jesse Lee Peterson, or what's the other guy? What's that black guy's name? Whitlock, or any of these other coon personalities that you see on social media. Then they're in the comment section. Oh, Candace for president. Some shit like that. That's the only time that they'll sit there and pretend like there's a certain special type of black people that they actually value and respect. No, they don't. They only, as long as you espouse their talking points, they will sit there and they will co-sign you. I mean, hell, even fucking white women found this out. Tommy Loren found this out when she was talking about my body, my choice, and Glenn Beck was like, see ya. Same thing with, Candace Owens. She was up there, hey, I don't support what Israel is doing. See ya. You know what I mean? They only co-sign you to the extent that you espouse their talking points. There is no behaving your way around their racism. And so when I was watching that clip with the guy there, trying to appease the white folks, and then the dad got aggressive. I'm gonna not knock the dad too much, even though his tone was extremely condescending, and you could taste the bigotry. However, he was, that looked like it was his son or his grandson. So he's just trying to protect his son or his grandson. And I understand that parents can get real crazy when it comes to, their children, and especially when it's another racial group, they'll just be on some, go inside. They're just trying to end the shit, period. Okay, because that's their livelihood, that's their offspring, and that's just how they're going to treat it. So I'm not tripping too much, you know what I mean? But like the fact that my man was doing too much splaining, he was just doing a little bit too much splaining for me. And the thing is there's, and I'm saying I used to be, that same type of person. Oh, well, let me show you. Let me demonstrate for you how intellectual of a black person I am. They don't give a fuck about that shit. You know what I'm saying? At this point in my life, you got to be able to read the room and recognize it for what the fuck it is, that you're not welcome and they don't want you there, and roll the fuck out. This goes into black people creating their own spaces, which is another whole conversation to be had about black people creating their own spaces, because white people still get butthurt when black people, you don't want us in their space, but then when we create our own space, they're like, this is reverse racism. They get on that stupid shit. It's reverse racism. You don't want us in your space, then we create our own space. You play around with segregation, right? And then when we create our own space, if you can't come into our space while we can't come into yours, it's a fucking problem. Like I told you, these people are fucking pathological. They're pathological. It's just what it is. It's as bad as freaking Donald Trump's malignant narcissism. It's on that level. And you got to recognize, what you're fucking dealing with. So yeah, that video pissed me off. And I'd use it, but I try to download it, but like for some reason it won't fucking download. And so like the main reason I wanted to make this video was because of, did I skip over something? Did I skip over? I was talking about the lawyer, and his shit. Oh, let me back up a little bit. Like one of the things that pissed me off about the lawyer in his video, right? So he goes and he brings up black crime statistics, right? He's just like, see black people murder, right? Which has nothing to do with this fucking case, right? Like the freaking, Carmelo Anthony is pretty much on the same level as Austin Metcalf was, right? Austin Metcalf had a 4.0, he had a 3.7, right? He was captain of the football team. Metcalf was MVP, right? They're athletes. It's pretty much on the same level. Good student, good athlete. Pretty much on the same level. None of the what goes on in the inner city applies, Right, but see that's that white supremacist dog whistle. The idea that, oh, it's black culture, it's in their DNA. They're the ones that they're the ones that are violent. Like, the projecting is crazy. Like, white people have a whole fucking history of fucking domestic terrorism and lynchings and burning down whole entire black community. Again, if this happened in 1920, they would have went whatever the nearest black town to Frisco is. They would have went in that motherfucker and burnt that shit down. It would have been Rosewood all over again. That's what they have a track record of doing. Why is it that this is what drives me nuts. The America has the black people it deserves. America put black people in an unnatural state and condition with racism, marginalization, redlining, blockbusting, Jim Crow, eminent domain, urban renewal, convict leasing, debt peonage, COINTELPRO, CIA, Iran Contras, dumping drugs in the black community, 1994 crime bill, freaking racial housing covenants, denial of Social Security for the first 20 years, denial of access to the Homestead Act, right? These are all the things that black people were fucking denied. Right? And white people were given white privilege and fucking white affirmative action and handouts, in particularly with things like the GI Bill, the New Deal, and the loans that they were able to get that white people weren't redlined out of, which built the equity in the white community with their ability to go and grow equity in their homes by living in these racialized, exclusive white suburbs. Okay, so right off top, you have the two Americas, right? And this was already covered in the Kerner Commission. I think this was called the Kerner Commission, underneath LBJ, which LBJ shelved, right? Because it said too much truth and he just shelved it, right? This country has never addressed that level of inequality that exists in this country. And so the problems have festered. The issues in the black community have festered, right? And that's what you see in the white community. Now that the white community is going through it, you're starting to see the cracks in the white community. They got single moms. Their marriage rates are low. Their birth rates are low. You're seeing white boys crash out. Their self-deletion rate is higher. Using, narcotics is higher, right? See, when it was just when black people are going through it and white people are basically, held up, right? It's black people are just, it's in our DNA. We're just problematic and whatnot. Now that white people are going through it, right now it's economics, it's economical. That's what the problem is. It's like we were trying to say as black people that's what the fucking problem is. You cannot have or maintain a patriarchy and all the things that go into strong, nuclear families on fumes. Men have to be fucking gainfully employed, and they just constantly, want to ignore that. When it comes to us, but when it comes to them, oh, absolutely, that's all about. Where's those unionized jobs? These motherfuckers can eat a dick. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm saying, and the level of bias just needs to be called out. But anyway, this fucking white lawyer, he's up there and he brings up all the black crime statistics to try to insinuate that black people are just inherently violent, and it's not a byproduct of the very situation and environments that white people created. In their constant, multi-centuries long of destruction of the black community. They just throw their hands up. Again, they don't do anything to fix the problem. Took the resources out of the black community. It's going to take resources to fix the black community. So they got to put resources in, but they don't want to do that. Right. So he brings that up. And the legacy of black violence. Look at the black violence, which again disproportionately affects just black people, right? Because people, they commit homicides where they live, right? Especially in racially segregated America, where you pretty much have black towns and you have white towns, or black neighborhoods and white neighborhoods, right? We don't really interact like that. But what he slickly tried to do is he tried to conflate, as they always try to do, hate crimes with economic crimes. So every time there's a crime where a black person carjacks, robs a liquor store, or home invades or something like that, or says, "Give me your wallet," that's racial. They try to make that the equivalent of a hate crime versus white people and their legacy of hate crimes. And this goes into, the fact that, like, even with this white lawyer, what he slickly tried to do, and I called him out in the fucking comment section. What he slickly tried to do is you're gonna bring up black crime statistics, and then he's gonna dismiss, because there's this rumor going around, and there's a rumor, right, that Metcalf in the fight called Austin a nigger. And then he's like, oh, why is that the magic word? Why is that because you all have a track record of domestic or racialized domestic terrorism in this country. And if we go off of that track record, right, when you all use the N-word, oh no, alarm bells go off. Because again, you all have a history of racialized domestic terrorism, and now I'm 1,000 times more likely to blow you the fuck away. Because I don't know where this violence is going to go, because now I know that you have racial animus in your heart. It's not just, we had a disagreement and we're going to scuff it out. No, now I know that you have racial animus. And now I know that you think of me as a lesser human being. It's not just two people getting in a fight. It's not two human beings getting in a fight. No, you're telling me that I'm a bug and you're about to crush me. I will blow you the fuck away. When you drop the N-word, that changes the whole dynamic, and that needs to be legal precedent. That needs to be legal precedent. I don't know, it probably possibly is, but that needs to be legal precedent. Because when you drop the N-word, you're showing racial animus, and at that point, in particularly, I cannot have any faith that you're going to hold back in your violence that you have directed at me, because you see me as a lesser human being and therefore my life is less valuable. Fuck that shit. No. That's green light to crash out. In my opinion, that's just my opinion. But it was real slick at how he did that. It was real slick how he's going to bring up black crime statistics, but black people can't bring up the legacy of racial intimidation, the legacy of white domestic racialized terrorism. I'm like, yeah, that was real slick. He just dismissed it, right? But the main thing I wanted to talk about, and I kind of went all around the bush, but I could have made this video much shorter. But what I want to talk about is, and this is to all my YNs out there, since everybody's using that term now, right? All the young niggas out there, okay? Stop posting shit on social media, okay? Stop it, okay? Y'all keep posting, whether whether it's some self-incriminating shit, right, which is not what we're talking about here, but when y'all post these images of trying to look like you're gangster or showing your guns, and this is like there is a difference in culture, based off of where we live. It's not necessarily black white culture, and this is one of the issues that goes on in the Second Amendment space, right? So if I'm in Philadelphia, okay, I don't hunt. I don't have an AR-15 for hunting, right? I don't have an AR-10 for hunting. No, that shit's for people. That's for people. That's for self-defense. So guns in the city are just about self-defense. That's what they're about. Guns in the country, right, that white people like to do, like they like to hunt, and that's another like white cultural thing. I have no desire to go out there. Like, you see these white guys, they're like, oh, they want to kill shit. That's why they get on a fucking helicopter and they'll be like, oh, well, the feral hogs, they'll be on a helicopter with 300 blackout, just taking out whole fucking, what do you call it? I forget what they're called, but it's not a herd. It's called something else. But they're like a whole family of hogs just sitting there, just plucking them off, from a helicopter, talking about, yeah, like that's the type of shit that they do. Okay, black people, Second Amendment, we don't need to go out in the forest and kill some majestic elk or some shit like that. You know what I mean? Y'all go out there and try to find a albino, freaking, deer or some shit like that, and then shoot it and then put it on your wall. And we have no desire to do shit like that. So whenever black people are going to showcase their guns, right? Because we live in a country where there's the Second Amendment, white people show their guns and black people show their guns. But it is socially acceptable for white people to show their guns when they're wearing, camouflage and whatnot and fatigues or whatever, right? That's socially acceptable. But for black people, right? Because of, and I'm gonna blame it on a lot of it on hip hop culture, right? And the promotion of that, which white people and Jews are the ones that facilitated that and run that. Okay. But when it comes to, hip hop culture, there is too much negativity of urban violence associated with that. And so when you post your picture of yourself on your social media that is open to the public with your Glock 19 and your like I see all these shorts on YouTube, you know what I mean? With these like voiceovers, show me a gun that's anything other than a Glock, or with this sound, show me your everyday carry or something like that. You'll see videos like that. And literally everybody's doing it. Everybody that is in the 2A space, everybody who has an interest in guns, which men are going to have, because men are going to have an interest in weaponry, period, because who are the ones that are ultimately responsible for protecting and defending their family and their community? It's men. Okay, so men are going to be more captivated by guns than women. But the point that I'm making here is all that posting shit, all that, like, you see how they did. I mean, even the picture with him with his middle finger up and the lighter, like, you can clearly tell, like the damn middle finger. First off, one of the fingers is all like goofy looking. Then on top of that, I don't know if it was the pinky or the thumb. I think it was like the pinky. It was just weird how the fingers wrapped around. But then his hand is like bigger than his head. Okay, the proportions were off. And then they have like his face, looking like what was that movie? It was like a movie where like you're not supposed to smile or some shit like that. What movie was that? I can't think of what the movie was. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But anyway, I'm saying, then you got the picture of him with his white friends. It was 2 black guys and 2 white guys. Now, some people were saying that one of them were the Metcalf twins or whatever. I don't know. I can't tell from that grainy picture. I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, white boys look the same, but I can't tell whether that's them or not. I'm going with the idea that it's not them. But the point is the racist social media elements. What did they do? They cut the picture in half, or literally cut out 2/3 of the picture and just showed you Anthony with what was an airsoft gun and him holding it and being like, see, it's just criminality. Right? And that's why you don't post shit like that. I got pictures of myself. I got pictures of myself with, AR-15, full plate carrier, body armor, just to see, what the shit looked like in the mirror. And I got some pictures of that, but I don't post it on social media. Y'all ain't never going to see those pictures. You see? And I don't understand the fascination with wanting to be seen and everybody seeing you, and even trying to be seen in a particular light that you're not. You need to get over that shit, because then when some shit pops off, right, and you really do have a life or death situation, you see what the media is going to do when you put those type of pictures out there yourself. You see what the media is going to fucking do. Stop posting shit like that. Stop posting your guns. Don't nobody need to know what the fuck you got. That first off, the whole point of carrying concealed is for the element of surprise. You know what I'm saying? And then with the young boys, most of y'all ain't even supposed to have that shit anyway. So when you post that and you got freaking social media cops all over the internet waiting for y'all to fuck up, waiting for y'all to post it on social media, then all they do is pull your fucking IP address. The next thing they kick it in the door at 3 o'clock in the morning because you were a 14-year-old and you got a gun on social media. And now you're cooked. Stop doing that shit. I can't express that shit enough. Because y'all just keep, you keep posted, like, and especially with the Gen Z and below, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, y'all are addicted to fucking social media, and you letting everybody know what you're doing, where you at. You'll be out somewhere, and then you'll be posting that you're out somewhere. Now motherfuckers know that you're not home and all this other shit, that your spot is empty. You know what I mean? Like, again, this is what happened to Bun B. Bun B went on vacation. You know what I mean? And a bunch of goons showed up at his house. Again, this is what happened to Pop Smoke. This is what happened to PNB Rock, dropping locations and shit. This is what happened to, Julio Fulio, dropping locations. You see? So, y'all need to get the fuck off of that. So I don't know what is the obsession with social media and posting shit. The only pictures that you should have on social media should look like you running for the goddamn president of the United States. Those are the only pictures on social media that you need to have. People don't need to see your other side. They don't need to see your dark side. They don't need to see your freaky side. They don't need to see any of that shit. Because if something happens, if something goes down, white media is going to be on it like a hawk. They're going to be on it like a hawk. Bottom line, and I wish, this is why there needs to be more black voices in the 2A space. Because granted, both of these boys are 17 and they had their guns and whatnot. But again, see, the Metcalf twins, they had their guns in photos with their fathers and clearly engaging in a recreational activity. They weren't trying to look like they were gangster. You see? It's just not socially acceptable, and we haven't created a socially acceptable space for the Second Amendment in the black community. It would have been different if it was Carmelo there with his father, at the gun range, and they got the ballistic glasses, and they got their targets, and they were showing off their targets and showing their accuracy and whatnot. That's different. It's a family event. Well, I mean, what are white people going to attack you on? That you support the Second Amendment? Liberals might, but other than that, they wouldn't be able to attack you. But there doesn't seem to be any sort of, like, white people are biased. They engage in bias. So why are you giving them ammunition? That's my whole thing. Why are you giving them ammunition that they're going to run with? Right? Because you're not going to get, and I get it. Some black people feel like, man, fuck that. Fuck what them white people think. Da, 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 da. I'm just saying.
Ran out of space again. Yeah. So anyway, I'm just saying, don't give them any ammunition. Stop posting that shit on there. Because I'm saying, if anything, if something happens and, there's some life or death or situation that happens in your life, the news, your family, your friends, people who may casually know you, the first thing that they're going to do is they're going to go and they're going to scramble and they're going to hit up your Facebook. They're going to hit up, whatever other social media that you have, and then they're going to grab whatever pictures you have on there. So if you got goofy pictures on your social media where you're smoking weed or you're, drinking, with friends, I mean, even when it comes to, jobs, they do look at your social media. What are you posting? Are you in a picture with your friends? You got a bunch of Bud Light and everything. There's a reason why white people drink out of cups, or they drink out of, certain, glasses and whatnot. There's a reason why they do that.
They don't drink out of stuff that has the label on it that clearly indicates that it's alcohol, right? You can be drinking wine and say it's apple juice. There's a reason why they don't like to drink out of bottles. Because especially for the obvious reason of photos. So, black people gotta get with the times and stop this bullshit of just thinking, oh, I'm free and I can just go over here and I got my social media pages just busting wide the fuck open, and I got, questionable pictures up there. If there's anything on your social media that you wouldn't want your mother to see, then chances are that's not something that you want to post. It's not that important for you to have a goofy ass picture. If you're not making money from social media doing goofy ass shit, you gain nothing having stupid pictures like that. You know what I mean? You and your white friends throwing up gang signs. You gain nothing from that, even if you're doing it in a mocking way. Because if some real life or death shit happens, you know what I mean? Fox News is gonna be like, see, that he was a gang member. Like that's what they're gonna do. That's literally what they're gonna do. They're gonna grab whatever shit and run with it, and why even go through that? Why even make it hard for them? Don't make it easy for them. Make it hard for them. They'd be like, damn, I only have this one image and he's in a suit. God damn it. Like that's how that shit should be. But now we're back to the whole, showing young Trayvon Martin versus grown Trayvon Martin. We're back to that again. Showing him as a little kid, in the mainstream media on the left, when he was, well over 6 foot. I think it was, I don't know, he was 6'5", 6'7", something like that. He was huge, right? And then, Fox News and all the people on the right, they had a field day with that shit. But like I said, I was never keeping score on the shit. I'm like, oh, what happened here? It doesn't turn racial to me until the person that is white says something racial. You're not going to get that shit from black people. Black people don't have a history of domestic terrorism against white people and running around and saying racial shit to white people. We don't show up, with the Black Panther Party, in white neighborhoods unless white people did something to black people, in that neighborhood or in that space. That's the only time you're going to see the NFAC show up or some shit like that. That's the only time. Unlike you got Nazis showing up in predominantly black communities just because. We don't do that type of shit. So every time white people try to back like, it's reverse race, shut the fuck up. No, the fuck it's not. All this projecting that they do. It's tiring. It's mentally exhausting, and they think they got such a solid argument. I've never seen so many stupid people in one place, other than America. And it seemed to be stupid about everything. They're stupid about racism. They're stupid about freaking, Donald Trump's tariffs. They're stupid about how anything fucking works. They don't seem to understand how anything works. It's like they listen to a 30-second soundbite and all of a sudden they're a fucking expert on shit. Saying nonsense. This story is all over the place, and you still got white people running around saying, I bet this would be all over the news if the roles were reversed. Again, if the roles were reversed, yeah, it's going to be a freaking racial conversation because white people have a track record of that type of behavior. Black people don't have no fucking track record of that shit. Again, I implore you, and I ask white people this all the time. I'm like, show me the pictures of black people standing around the body of a lynched white person posing for the camera. Show it to me. Show me where this is going on. Show me where black people were out here lynching fucking white people for fun and and throwing, more, what do you want to call it? Throwing their bodies, to be like burned openly in a pit, right? Cutting off their ears and cutting off their testicles and taking them home as souvenirs. Show me where black people engaged in this type of behavior. You can't. But I can show you a lot of images that I can't share with you on YouTube just by simply typing in lynching in America. That's all I got to type. Lynching in America, Google images. Bam. Comes right the fuck up. That is all white people against black people. But see, like, again, all that white guilt, white people, they want to try to equalize everything to absolve themselves of the white guilt and claim, I mean, black people are in poverty, they live in the ghettos, and they commit crime now, and I see black people in the 6 o'clock news every night committing crime, so therefore the 400 years of racism that we had against black people and what black people have been doing since the 1960s with crime is the same thing. Is equal to one another. Like literally, that's what they're trying. I'm like, for real? That's your argument? Yeah, it's equalized. So we don't owe black people anything for reparations for slavery and Jim Crow because black people have been getting reparations in the form of welfare and the fact that black people commit so many crimes and that's why. And so therefore, don't bring up about anything about white people being racist towards black people because black people are racist towards white people, and let's just call it even Steven. White people logic. It's white people logic. That's their fucking logic. This is I don't know how anybody like doesn't see this. I know we all see this, but it's like the white people. I mean, they're so serious when they bring this shit forward. Like they're so serious that they have the most solid argument in the world. They're so serious when it comes to that shit. Anyway, that's all I got for y'all. That's my video. That's WPI. Don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe.
On the scene, diamond blingy whole screen. Check a boy Louis V. I'm so fresh and so clean. Stuff them bands in my jeans, slap them 30s in them things. Pull the trigger, let it sing. Then go smoke a Russian cream.
Move. Hold on.
Yeah.
Hello?
Where you at?
Where we at? Oh, you want to know where I'm at? We